Kick it off.
All right, so we're here to present our final presentation, as you all know.
And this is us again.
Yes.
Voting no.
Yes. So our agenda today, we're just going to talk about our project roadmap, what we've done to date, more of our competitive software interviews, and then we did some agency research, as well as the SWOT for the software overall, and then just our final comments and recommendations. So as far as project roadmap goes, first off, we started out doing competitive software interviews. We did a few more of those just to see what was out there in the industry and how the product compared. Secondly, we did market data research where we reached out to about 40 different providers here in Georgia just to understand what type of software they were using, what their switching costs would be, and if they would be interested in switching softwares. And then lastly, we undertook a SWOT based off of your software, comparing it to the industry. So the first three that we did last time, we did Solana, Penelope, as well as TheraP, and rated them. And then we've done two since then. One is ViperSoft, and the other one is Client Services Manager, or CSM. And both of those we did not find to be nearly as good as the other ones that we interviewed. And we'll touch on that here in the next couple of slides. So CSM started about 25 years ago. They were strictly a software company, just doing regular business software. They said that they decided to focus on healthcare software back in about 2007, 2008, once Obama was elected, because they figured that the market was going to take off because of that. They had actually been designing a kind of a case management software, but they ended up shelving it because dial-up really didn't work with the internet connection needed to run the software. Then they had a client that came in and asked them to basically build a case management software, and they said, oh, we've shelved this, but are you interested in it? And then they realized they had a market on it and decided to build upon it from there. So really the highlights from it were they have an integrated suite of services where they go from accounting to HR to also case management. They have a high level of customizability, and they are constantly updating their software. The cons were that it seems like it really hasn't been updated in terms of graphics since they first built it back in the early 2000s. It was expensive, and they have a very weak implementation process overall.
Okay.
So software offerings, again, kind of as I mentioned, they have a full suite of services, as we talked about, which are listed up there on the screen. In terms of their implementation, they really only had two options. The first one was a $300 implementation process where they literally just send you the system and they send you a couple manuals on it, and you have to set it up all on your own. The next one was $1,000 where they send you the things and then they spend about 6 sessions with you kind of implementing the software on it. But those were the only two options they had, which was pretty surprising to us. In terms of ongoing support, they have a 300-page manual online for it that they said is continually updated, which I thought was a little out of hand just because of the pure size of it. They also do webinars where they do training sessions on specific things, but you have to pay $10 per seat to sit on those webinars. They said they started charging a cost on it because they said if we offered it, people would sign up for it, but then they wouldn't show up. So they started charging for it to ensure that people would show up for it. And then they also said that their support's provided over email as well as over the phone, but it really wasn't clear from the conversation how long the support process took for things, or really how big their support department is overall. Just from the conversation, I ended up speaking with the owner of it, and I don't think the support department was that big. They also said that depending on the need or the issue that you're having, kind of generates the turnaround time on it, whereas if you want something massive to be done, it could be a couple of months. But they said basically they're willing to do anything you want if you're willing to pay for it.
Are they really actively pursuing new business, could you tell?
They are pursuing new business, so he did tell me that they're bidding on a couple things out in California right now, and then they also are bidding on a couple things around here in Georgia, but I think you said they're active in about 8 or 9 states right now, and they have some business in Canada as well. Product delivery, something that was surprising was they use a remote desktop app rather than it being web-based. They do have web-based offerings, but it's still very limited just on several different other applications up there. They also do not have a mobile application for the product. In terms of customizability, they do have a custom form builder. It is an add-on cost, but you can build your own custom forms and templates, which we thought was pretty good just compared to what's out there in the market, as many people don't even offer something like that to where you just have standard reporting templates. In terms of their ISP data, it was similar to TheraP, where they do use a text box generated data to enter notes on goals, but they did say that they can customize it to where it is question driven, just as y'all's is now on it. In terms of billing, they said the system actually will not let you provide somebody a service if you cannot bill for it. You can also submit directly through Medicaid, and then it also provides alerts on under or overutilized billing on the system. GPS tracking, they do not currently offer it. They said they had a client who wanted it, and they actually were able to provide them with a GPS, but that was at a cost of $2,000, which didn't really seem viable. And the cost kind of varies off the modules that you use. They do have a standard set of offerings that they provide, but then they also have a lot of add-on options. And then if you need customizability based, if you wanted to do a certain thing, they're going to charge you for it. So small organizations, they said it was about less than $1,000 a month, and then medium to larger organizations, they said it was about $2,000 to $4,000 a month, depending on the size. Their ideal size organization was between 25 and 50 employees. And they also had a couple different options in terms of being able to either rent, lease, or purchase the software, which we thought was interesting because nobody else seemed to have that those options available. So they had a rent option where they take care of all the hardware for you, and they take care of all the security of the data, and then they also provide continual updates to it. Whereas if you have a purchase option, you're responsible for purchasing the hardware, and you're also responsible for your data integrity on that system as well. The reason why they offer it purchasing is just for tax benefits to where you can depreciate the system, and same thing with a lease to own, they allow you to do that as well. But in that scenario, you're also responsible for your data as well as the hardware, and you have possible tax benefits. Something that was interesting about them though was they had a very low customer retention rate. They said it was about 50%. They said it has gotten stronger recently. They said just when they first started out doing this, they feel that a lot of people signed up for this and weren't really, I guess they thought it could do more than the software could actually do. And then when they needed more things done and they wanted to charge them for it, they decided that they just weren't going to continue working with the company. They said they've gotten much better at it now to where people understand fully what they're getting themselves into up front. And they said the retention rate has been higher because of it.
Okay, so now I'm going to talk about Vipersoft, which is just another product that we looked into. They started back in 2010 by accident. There was actually a animal tracker software, mainly for snake breeders, which is so random, but
Well, that's why it's called Viper.
yeah, right.
Okay, there it is.
So anyways, he was talking with a friend, the next thing he knew, he changed some things in the software and was able to, kind of modify it for a care provider. And then he just started growing that business that way. Yeah, right. So the interesting thing with this is you can track like how many times like, people go to the restroom and the color of their urine and things like that, which is depending on the industry necessary or maybe not. But overall, not really a great product in my opinion. And none of the employees have industry experience. He just said it's a bunch of IT people who built it, and then that's all that exists. And they don't really have a size, constraint, but it's kind of small, medium size. Their scope is only in the state of Georgia, which was pretty surprising to me.
We got a lot of snakes here.
Right? So I guess most of the snake breeders were in the state before, so. Whether that's a good or bad thing. As far as kind of overall, it was really affordable, and they had a high retention rate. He said like only, a person or two's dropped since its existence. They do have a free sandbox, which is amazing. He said you can have it when you want, as long as you want, for whoever. They seem really flexible on the sandbox, which I think is awesome.
Yes.
And really nice because most sandboxes companies are charging extra for. As far as the cons, it is not customizable at all. He says if a bunch of clients want the same thing, then they'll consider changing something for the entire product. And with that, it's just kind of you sign up and it's one package and that's it. It includes everything. Even if you only want two things, you get everything in one package. No direct connection to pharmacies, which I know is not good. No custom reporting at all. They have templates and that's it. You can't change any of the templates. You can't get custom reporting depending on what you want, which is also a big con. The phone interface is really bad, and he said that. He said that you need like a high-powered tablet or a laptop to do it, and honestly, being able to do it on your iPhone and how clear it is I think incredibly important. So that was another con. You can't set up alerts. So, if somebody doesn't meet their goal by a certain time, it doesn't alert you. You just have to run a report to get that alert. So again, another big con. They only have they have preset reports to run, but other than that,
Are they doing other things? I mean, first impression doesn't appear that they're really invested in.
Satellite.
Yeah, it's like a side gig,
and that's what he said.
and that's what it
He
is.
said, well, this isn't our only business. This is just kind of something that we're running.
Okay.
How many clients do they have? They're only in
I
Georgia?
asked multiple times. They didn't really tell me.
Out of the ones we interviewed, they came up, what, 2 or 3 times?
Yeah.
Maybe 4, so.
They were at the
They
conference.
may
They
have
have
4
4
clients
clients
and
and
they
they
kept
kept
those
those 4.
Right,
You
yeah.
know,
I
it
know.
sounds like a small,
Yeah, it's a smaller
couple of
operation.
clients and they've kept a couple, but it's not anything that's growing.
Right, and they don't seem like they're doing much to invest in upgrading, investing in trying to get GPS tracking. They're not investing in really their clients or changing much, or really growth. It doesn't seem, so. That's a good thing that they're probably not going to get a competitor. As far as their software offerings, they do billing, HR, just anything under the sun as far as documentation goes. The implementation, which is really nice, is no extra cost. They said 6 to 10 weeks, depending on how big your business is and whether you're transferring from paper or from electronic. There is no business interruption, which is really nice, and I know that's one headache for a lot of businesses when they have to shut down and lose revenue just to get a new software up. And the free sandbox with the implementation is great. As far as their ongoing support, they didn't seem like they really even did it. They were just like, yeah, I mean, people call us every once in a while, but like we don't really have a dedicated team and no one really calls us, or we don't ever have issues. And so he was,
They only have 3 clients.
maybe, right?
And
Also, because they won't customize, there's not much.
There's not much
Run-
to change,
run what
right?
you got, yeah.
Yeah, so he says, their system never goes down, they don't really have much tech issues ever. But they do have a 5-person staff for that support. And they'll do on phone, or they'll remote in, or come on site, so. With that, it is web-based, there is no mobile application. As far as the customizability, no custom reporting, and they'll, like I said, they'll update the system if everybody wants something, otherwise they won't do it. They use a text box to enter notes on goals and things like that as well. No alerts, but you can run reports for billing, that kind of thing. When you're reconciling for billing and things like that, you won't get any alerts or anything like that. But they said it is really easy and simple, and you can submit directly to Medicaid, which is nice. As far as GPS tracking, they do not have that, but they said that is something that they may get in the future. And then their cost, which I said from the beginning was really nice. So they've got one fee of $500-600, and then for each device it's $7. So that's not really that big of a deal. That is monthly, but it's still under most of all the other competitors out there in the market. So we did agency research, and so with that, we were asking questions. Who do you currently use? Do you like the software? How was the implementation? How long did it take? What was the training like? Are you open to switching? And that was really the main question that we wanted to get to at the end, was are you open? And that really kind of shows the demand in the market, at least for the state of Georgia. And so with that, do you currently have an operational software? Most did, over 90%. And then if so, what was it? And so we kind of laid out, who had what and how many. So TheraP and ViberSoft, and then a proprietary software is kind of the main bulk of the market. And then there were another list of 5 or 6 that used other various softwares in the market. But again, TheraP does have the majority of what we called. So they're pretty saturated in the Georgia market. which y'all already knew. So open to switching, it was over 50%, which was nice. And out of all of those, you know, even if you could get half of those, you'd have a lot of revenue, so.
So that's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow,
I think that's something that was shocking to us
Yes.
as
Yeah,
well,
me too.
because,
they're not happy.
yeah, and I mean, our first, you know, conversation with y'all is like, we were all kind of dead set on these switching costs start super high. You know, it's been a pain, I think y'all had a really bad experience with it, and even a lot of people have had a bad experience with it, but still, just the fact that they were
It's
said,
inertia.
oh, yeah.
It's inertia.
Yeah.
You get it in there, you get it running, you may not like it, but it's a real pain. to
Well, that's what
change.
Diane and her team said when we sat down with them. You know, it's the first time it's like, well, we don't, but as they started seeing
Mhm.
the other options, it's like, well, you know, I don't think people would just switch for the same old,
Exactly.
Yeah.
right? I mean, it would have to be something,
Yeah.
an improvement.
Mhm.
I'd say the majority of people we talked to ended up going with TheraP because they didn't know what else was out there in the market,
Yeah.
and they were sold on TheraP based on what other people were doing as well.
I think big selling point is you have their experience. You've been there, you know
That's
the
right.
weaknesses of the system, you know the problems you had, so you can empathize with people that you're talking to, because they control the market.
Mhm.
Most of the people you're trying to sell to are gonna be TheraP users.
Right. And so with that, we wanted to see why they weren't switching or what their reasons for switching were. So for not switching, to invest in what they currently have, you know, a government mandated software, day camp organization, or they just switch. So if they just switch, they're not going to want to switch again, right? Because typically they're either in a contract or, you know, just it's cumbersome. As far as switching, if it meets their needs, they will, or always looking. The always looking was interesting to me because, you know, there are a lot of companies out there who just have a software and aren't switching, but they're always looking out there for other software. So if something comes up better, they'd switch.
Yeah, and a few of them we had talked to had switched, you know, twice in the past 2 years, or 3 times in the past 3 years. That was
Wow.
kind of surprising too, that they were just like, you know, we signed on, we thought we were gonna like it, we didn't, we moved on, which was kind of backs up to that same switching cost of,
Is there a standard contract length with all of the, with like Thera? You
yeah.
have to sign up for at least a year?
Yeah, and they try to give you incentives for the next renewal, and they
Okay.
discount it if you
And if you
go
come, if
3
you,
years or whatever. But the facts are, once you're into the contract period, you're in it. But, so, I mean, we gave notice. You have to give notice. There's a clause in there for notice, and we gave notice, and we just said we're not gonna renew.
Give advance notice.
Yeah.
What's the notice?
I think it was, I don't remember if it was 90 days or 60 days,
I
something like
think it
that.
was 90.
90 days before the end of the contract
Yeah.
period?
And
And if you pull out in the contract period, you're still paying for it, right?
You've
That's-
already.
That's why you
You've
have to-
already paid for it.
So you can't, yeah.
Well, for us, it was a matter of, I think we actually quit using it before the end of the contract period because we'd already migrated over
So you
with what
did
we were
about
doing. But we'd let them know that we had no
5 months.
intention of renewing.
Out.
And, but we were,
that's why they don't talk to y'all.
right, because we told, I mean, we were nice about it, professional about it,
Just told what
but
was wrong.
we just said it just didn't meet what we needed and it didn't meet our expectations, and we spent more time trying to crosswalk it so we could bill than we, you know, so.
Right.
There's nothing more to say about that. But I think if anything, it's kind of like don't ask, don't tell, because Jason already knew we had a proprietary database when he came here. Because he said, oh, I'd like to see it. It's like, yeah, we think you would like to see it, but. But, so, you know,
They're adding Oracle Analytics to it. That's their
Really?
next step from the seminar that I sat in.
you're right.
So as far as implementation time and training time, we just kind of broke it up, you know, for implementation. It was a large span from anything from, you know, 100, you know, 50 day or 15 days, 4 days to, you know, a year. The majority was, you know, 6 months. I know that's kind of small for, I can cut off a little bit. But the largest one on the bottom is 180 days. So that seemed to be the largest
Wow,
amount.
that's a long implementation time.
Right, right.
Wow.
And then as far as training, that's pretty quick. I mean, they all were saying about a day, less than a day, couple hours, that kind of thing. They were all kind of on the same page with that.
And most
Pretty
of
easy to
them
pick up.
answered the training as far as how long does it take you to get like a new hire up to speed for what you need them to do. And so that's,
So that was the time.
yeah, it's not gonna be
Yeah.
like a full on, completely know what to do, but they could make it through their day.
And so as far as key criteria for switching, we put this together, and the larger letters indicate a stronger consistency. So friendly, reporting, customizability, training, things like that is what most people cared about with that, as far as for wanting to switch or reasons to switch.
Yeah, then the friendly is just the user-friendly
Mhm.
platform, as well as, there was a lot of
Those are the top three.
Yeah, a lot of
Reporting and
criteria.
customizable.
I know, price and analytics.
Surprised
are
that
kind-
price
yeah.
is so.
Well,
we have
cost is pretty
Oh,
large right
okay.
here, yeah.
Cost is
And the
I think,
next
fourth
three are
biggest.
cost, capability, and training. It goes to efficiency and mergeability. Paperless and tracking. That's awesome.
And so now we're gonna switch over, and Dave's gonna talk about the SWOT as far as the software itself.
Yeah, so how kind of what we see your product fits into this. And also, this may, I don't know if we said it earlier, but we'd already presented those other, like, 4 softwares. We have all that data for you.
Yeah,
It's
we've
just-
got it in
Okay.
the midterm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got it in the Dropbox.
Okay, yeah, perfect. All right, switch over. So we really just broke this up kind of in the way that we broke up each of the other software providers, especially for the strength and weaknesses part. As far as your software offerings go, it really, that's a strength. Y'all seem to have covered or exceeded the majority of everyone that we did interview. We think that the fact that it's built on really best practices from y'all's, knowledge of operations, as well as they both are working operations here too and know so much about the software, that's really is a strength. Usability, I mean, I feel like I could get on the software and make my way around, and that's based off of, 2 times with y'all going through it. And and especially, based on the fact that one of those, key criteria was just it being friendly. That really is a strength when it pairs up with that. Ongoing support, obviously in the future, it would need a little bit more of this, but once again, both of y'all are really, tied into the operations as well as built the software itself. So I think the knowledge that you have, there's a true base for really good support when it comes to the product. Delivery, it's web-based, as well as it's back, on a SQL platform, which is, I mean, out of everything we've used in school, SQL's probably the strongest database there is. Customization, you have the ability to, build out your own forms based on whatever you select. And your ISP data is once again another strength. Just, it's easily tracked. You're alerted to where you're at. You don't have to go looking for the things that the system can't tell you. Yeah. The billing, easily adjustable. You have, once again, the alerts for under and over utilization. GPS tracking, once again, we see people doing that. We know it has the capability to do that. Your reporting strong, once again, the custom reports based off the selections. Attendance, the fact that you can group people up, as well as keep track of them that way, especially when it comes to your emergency drills and stuff. The lockdown, from an operations standpoint, we thought that was great, and not everyone else used them. As far as you need to get your data in by a certain time, I think it just creates a level of accountability within the
Absolutely
organization
does.
that
And transparency and all.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, it keeps everyone honest and it keeps people doing their work, and, yeah, you can't get behind. And as far as when it comes to audit, track, time stamped, and you can see all your past versions. There's a record of pretty much everything you've done. For weaknesses, you know, there are a few offerings out there that we did see that maybe y'all don't quite have yet. The accounting and scheduling, and, you know, like, what was UCP? I'm sorry.
MARS, Medical Administration Records.
Yeah, but what was our friend from UCP?
Diane.
Diane, sorry. Yeah, you know, like she was talking about talking directly to a pharmacy and stuff like that. That's, you know, it's a weakness that is currently there. It's not to say it can't change. When it comes to implementing, you've done it here, but it hasn't really been tested, and there's not a sandbox version yet.
Right.
Once again, it's something that, you know, can be built on. It's just not there yet. The ongoing support, I mean, we list both of y'all as a strength, but it's one of those things where it hadn't been tested yet, and if this was to grow, you would need a little bit more support backing that. Once again, product development, just the lack of an organization, of a full backing of an organization behind it. Delivery doesn't quite have a mobile app yet. Their app was one that we had that does have a simple one. Like I said, we think you have a strong, you know, the mobile side of what you have is strong, but the fact that it doesn't have an app, that could be that there's probably going to be more of a shift in any software in general towards that. Customization, I know we talked last time about y'all were building in the capability to build the custom forms, but the more custom you could make that, and the more easily you could make it for anyone that's going to buy this, it's going to be, it's just going to be the more the merrier, the better. Billing is still submitted manually to Medicaid. I know, Karen, this is probably one of your preferences. We saw it as somewhat of a weakness, just in the fact that if you trust the system and you know everything's there, it's just one extra layer of steps that you need to do. So
We just hadn't had it as a priority.
yeah, and like I said, I think it's, from your standpoint, you probably want to have the last eyes on the billing before it goes out. It's one of those things, though, is if it can be automated and help you out, that's one less thing you have to focus on during the day. And the GPS tracking, you've got the capability, it's just hasn't been implemented yet. So opportunity, based on, you know, our research we've done, there is, you know, a demand for better software on the market. Like we spoke about earlier, over 50% of people said they were open to switching. You know, we have people just come blatantly say, if you've got something out there that's better than what we have, we want to look at it. And, you know, any types of, any additional apps or services that you can add in that can be customizable to any sort of organizations like yourself, that's going to be more of an opportunity. You know, as Diane was saying, with any sort of, you know, medical records or, I don't know, narrative diction software.
HR probably with compliance, though.
All of these, you know, you've got the base. They're just going to round out, you know, the software to make it even better than it already is. Implementation, as you saw, over the majority of people were saying it was taking 6 months to implement, which we think is wild. If you were to build, you know, a process for more swift implementation, I mean, already if you could walk in and say, yeah, we could have you up and running in 1 month, 2 months, you beat, you know, 75% of the people that we'd interviewed. Ongoing support, like Chris was talking about, you know, there's people that have their support as a 300-page manual. So if there was to be, you know, if there was to be a development of, you know, training, webinars, anything like that, it's going to be an opportunity to go above kind of what the base is out there. Once again, customization, that's what people want. Every organization is going to be a little bit different, anything you can do to fit their needs and have it the way that they want, is gonna be a bonus for you. A lot of this too comes back to, our conversation about we're not 100% sure what the auditors want, so you have to use your best judgment.
Well, and whatever their accreditation
Mhm.
requirements are, everybody kind of interprets their outcomes and what they want to do as goals and, how they want to measure their organization a little bit differently. And if you have a customization that you can drive the data to be the outcome reporting for what you need, then it makes that whole process so
Yep.
much easier. I mean, we kind of say that here, if we can't get it out of the database, then we don't, it's probably not something we need to be tracking right now.
Yep.
Because, it's, otherwise you're just, collecting, there's just so much data you can extract. It just doesn't make any sense not to do that. Even from, like, Yvonne, I know the HR piece, same thing. Your turnover and, your retention rates and your training time, and all of that. So,
Billing, just providing that direct access is an opportunity. GPS tracking capability, that's another thing. It could be added on to boost this. Cost, I think all of us were surprised at how expensive this was, especially when you're dealing with, a nonprofit organization. Anything you could do to make your price competitive, or lower that cost, that's what a lot of people, and that's why they end up with bad softwares, is because they're going off of price. And, if it was to be an attractive price, it's a good program, and priced well, there would be, a lot of opportunity there. Another opportunity, and I think we all walked away from our conversation with Diane with a big smile on our face. Just the fact that she was, a big player, a large organization, and she was impressed, and she was willing. That was, to the best of our knowledge, the first person that you had really
yeah,
sat
to me,
down and shown.
So I'm telling you, if Diane loves it,
Yeah.
everybody in SPAD's gonna love it. That's just what, because she is the mother of SPAD.
And yeah.
She's very, very well respected. She's very knowledgeable, she's very well respected, and she has a lot of visibility, not only in the provider network, but also at the state level, because she's a significant player.
Mhm.
She's heavily involved in legislative activities and all of that, so, having UCP, that was, to me, if we could get her on board, that's
Yeah.
why I put her in front of you guys. If we get her on board, I think you have,
Mhm.
In fact, she made a nod towards the thought of potentially helping them.
Yeah,
invest in
partner
it.
up or something.
Because she has the resources to do it,
Mhm. And,
so.
I know you don't want to go selling it to everyone right now, but if there were more, if you came across someone that you trusted that was in a similar position or anything like that, it may be worth just giving them a quick rundown and, bouncing your thoughts off of them. I don't think there's a fine line to play there,
Yes.
but I was surprised, and I think a lot of people were surprised with the conversation with Diane, so I think that's a extreme opportunity. And once again, just going back to the switching cost, we were surprised chatting with people that I think a lot of the people we talked to were, more high level in these organizations, and they saw, the need we need good operational software.
Well,
And if it's,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, and if it's not meeting their needs, then they can do better, then
Well,
they're open to it.
Why not?
a few years ago, I got a call from a friend who runs an agency up in North Georgia. This is a scenario that I was interested in what you were saying about your, in the SWOT about the opportunity of, well, it's right here, the implementation, opportunity to develop best-in-class implementation process through the experience. So I got a call, and the scenario was that her quote CFO was leaving. And the CFO was really a person who was at a bookkeeper's level, not even a full charge bookkeeper level, and had been with their nonprofit for probably 30 years. And they were on very, very, very old systems. And panic struck because the executive director was like, I depend on this person and I'm not an accounting person and I don't really know where to start. Long story short, just because of my background, I said, you know, do you want me to help you? She said, yes. So I went up there and did a quick analysis of where they were, and the bottom line was, I mean, they didn't even have reconciled bank statements. I mean, it was, the annual audit was, the CPA firm was basically fixing the balances so they could get through an audit. I mean, it was just incredibly bad. And through spending some time with her and educating her on what the process was, and I said, you have an opportunity, we can take you paperless. I mean, they didn't even have a server or anything. Everything was paper. I said, while we're gonna do this, why don't we take you paperless and get it'll start your whole organization towards moving towards paperless. And so that's what we did. But by having a conversation with their board of directors to say, this is the game plan, providing some of the expertise to get them over the hump, because, you know, I helped them create their balance sheet and get them where they needed to be, and trained their new guy. The other day she said, you know, he's still there. The board is extremely happy. They have financials now that they can depend on. He's doing well. She's at peace. All's good. And I think that's the thing, that it's part of an implementation and partnership. If we had a system of these are the things that you got to do in the order, you know, obviously each organization is a little bit different, but give them a guiding light as to how to tackle this thing so that they could get it done in a certain period of time.
Yeah.
Then I think it could create a lot of goodwill, because people, it is as much the experience as it is the outcome, I think. And I mean, that's what my brief time dealing with, you know, the group that I did with them. And I think, you know, it took us a few weeks, but I only worked on it on Saturdays. And we had them in a paperless environment in, you know, a very short period of time with audit-ready bookkeeping department, you know, and they've never had that. So that kind of, the experience of it, they were already in pain. Let's not add more pain to your pain. Let's make it something you can look forward to and be excited about in the end. And I think if we could do that,
Yeah.
does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
Well, you create an ease of
Yeah,
mind too, that just
absolutely.
says,
You know,
hey, if I've been audited, you know.
yeah, it's work,
and
but
this
it-
works and-
right, yeah, and it works. That would be, I think that would be a great thing.
Right.
And then while you're doing it, while you do an implementation, you can explore and discover with them what their outcome report should look like. And that could be kind of in motion while they're in implementation, so that when they come out of their implementation, they
It's already
have
been-
something they can use and depend on. And I think that might help create some loyalty.
And it's already been somewhat
Yeah,
customized.
right,
They're not
exactly.
calling you
Right.
afterwards saying,
Yeah.
you know, you at least try
I
to
know
get
with
them.
their app, first thing that, you know, once we sign the contract, oh, we want to come in and shut you down for 2 days to do your training. And it's like, yeah, I'm sorry, but that's not even an option. And the answer is no. So, I mean, that kind of just already put another taste in our mouth, that you don't even have enough regard for our revenue, that we
Yeah.
have to stay open to be able to generate business
To pay.
to pay you. That was, you know, so, anyway.
This is coming not from an IT group of people that know a lot about IT, but nothing about the business. This is
Yeah,
coming
well,
from
I think it's a matter of
someone that-
who's first. The customer and what they need is first, not what we have to offer and take it or leave
understands the
it.
business from end, beginning to end.
Yeah. All right.
Threats, just the current market, there are quite a few players. So, you know, some of them we talked to specifically said that they've been focusing on trying to move into Georgia. I know Solana was one that we had talked about last time.
And they're already up and running.
Yeah, they're up and running. They just, they don't have any customers in Georgia yet. Software offerings, there's a need for some additional ones, especially if you're gonna, go outside of providers that are, exactly the same as yourself. The mobile application, we do think that that's kind of a next step in the market. Without that, it could fall behind in the future. The offerings are just going to require continual updates. This goes back to kind of the support staff and how it's managed. Just different providers have different needs, so that's going to have to be, addressed. Once again, the implementation, like we just talked about, you don't want to shut down their business.
No.
It needs to be seamless, and like I said, it's something that just y'all haven't had to test yet outside of your own organization. And like we were just talking about, if you do trip during that step, it kind of sets the stage for what your relationship with that potential customer is going to be like. Ongoing support. I think when you need it, it needs to be there. So just there's a high demand. Some people that we talked to, it seemed like they did it pretty well. They had staffs. Other ones, they didn't even seem like they needed it. I think that goes along the lines of, if you're going to have a differentiated product, then part of that's going to be your support. Customization is just crucial for everyone in the market. I mean, that's came up time after time after time again. It just goes back to different organizations have a little bit different needs, and they want them met the way that they want them met. And government regulation. I mean, as we've seen, in South Carolina, TheraApp is paid for by the state. That's just it's going to be, it's kind of unknown. It could be a tough one to overcome if it did come out and the state mandated certain software. So
Wait a minute, South Carolina specified TheraApp for all their,
that's what
There are states that
Yeah.
said, it's just like Georgia said Relias, we're gonna use Relias, and they get a contract for it. So it's not.
and I think the way it worked is they provided it for free or at a low cost for organizations within the state. I mean,
well,
you
if you
could,
think about it, they gave TheraApp an entire state.
yeah,
And what they got back was a reduced price.
Yeah.
And it worked for everybody.
yeah.
But it's a killer for competition. I mean,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
exactly what they wanted. They didn't want any competition.
Right.
Yep.
But it's also opportunity on your market,
Yes.
marketing to the.
And that depends on the states. I mean,
Yeah.
How much regulation they're
Right.
willing to do.
Yeah, but how often would it be if, you build the software out and start getting providers in the state, and then the
Right.
state
Then the state
changes
says no.
course and says, no, y'all aren't there, and then you just lose all those contracts. And
It's exactly the kind of stuff going on in the pharmaceutical industry. Walmart or Walgreens goes and makes a deal with Medicare.
Yeah.
Now, all the Medicare people are saying, go to Walmart for your drugs, go to Walmart. They're not making you go, but they're cutting the price.
And they're cutting the
Yeah,
price and making it,
yeah.
incentivizing you to
All
go
those
there.
other competitors out there having to deal with that. So the government picks its winners and losers. That's exactly what's happening.
I think that's what they did in California too. I think Bonnie said that they're working with the hospitals.
Well, I mean, maybe under an opportunity down the line with a sales team, that could be a potential to lobby to state government agencies to say, hey, we've got an awesome product, can we do a price cut and offer to X, Y, and Z for this state, and then you lock down the state.
Yeah.
start selling there. Start with, go out there and fly out there and do stuff.
Harrison, here, feed the chicken out of the plastic bag, okay? And that's like Squeaker, he likes that swirl.
So do you know which states mandate software, certain specific software than South Carolina? They don't mandate it, they just
I
pay
think
for
they
it.
subsidize it, yeah.
They subsidize the Thera, but they don't mandate it.
Mhm.
That's what they're doing with
Georgia
Reliance.
does one for one of the organizations we interviewed. I can't remember which one. I've got an Excel sheet.
They pay for it?
They pay for it, and they said that, we get it for free, so why would we go out and pay for something? They said they weren't happy with it, but they make do because they get it
don't
for
like
free.
it, but it's free.
Yeah.
Right. Why would we go out and pay for something when we get something?
Only one
free?
organization gets to pay for it?
Out of the ones we interviewed.
Out of the ones we interviewed that I spoke to, I can't remember. It was a
I wonder if
specific
it's a CSB or
organization.
something like that.
I think it was something with children. I wanna say.
But we've
But
got
you-
it on
you
our
have that
list.
list.
I've got it
No.
on the
Excel
list, yeah, I
doc, and
can't
we can
remember the
give it to
name.
So
Yeah.
you really only researched the Georgia
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
state.
Yeah, we
It
just-
Could be that other
In a
states
lot of ways.
mandate
Yes.
In an
and
opportunity
subsidize
kind
other
of way, if you
software.
look
Yeah.
at it.
So that it might
It
be
could
cost, not
done.
even
If
important
they're
to
not
get in front
happy,
of
we can
the
slide.
legislature or
Right.
whoever it is
You
that
gotta
makes
get it
those
right.
decisions
Right.
about the product.
Yes.
That's why people like Diane
Michelle
and
Hanson.
people
Yeah,
that
can't
know.
push it from an
Exactly.
organization.
Who wants-
Steve Henson. I mean, serious. Talking about
Getting a
product.
state contract right now is about as good as a 30-day window. I mean, that's not, I wouldn't even, yeah, they're,
They're dysfunctional.
yeah, we don't, that's,
Yeah, go for it.
So these were actually just some comments that we had from providers that we interviewed that we kind of just wanted to highlight. All three of these really iterate the fact that people, when we were talking, they go, well, if you know something better out there, you guys develop something, let us know because we'd be interested in trying it. I know that the one that I talked to, which was Creative Enterprises down in Lawrenceville, was saying that they basically gave up trying to find something to market and started to build their own based off a SQL database. But they said if you have something, they'd be interested in serving as a test bed for it. So there's definitely opportunity out there in the market, and I think a lot more people, just kind of as we've all spoken about, are interested in switching and open to it.
Yeah, I will say too, I spoke with Lisa here. I mean, we spoke for probably 30 or 40 minutes, and she was telling me about back in 2012, they got hit with $430,000 and recoup costs, and it was
yeah, she was
because,
on TV.
yeah, and so she ended up, going to the media and, just started blasting. It was essentially because she had signed her name as executive director or something instead of.
ADP.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so then they tried to,
Wow.
yeah. And so it was a big fuss, and she, so then after that, they switched over to software, but she made the comment that, they hadn't been audited since then. And she thinks what they have is really good. She's like, but
Don't
like,
know yet.
I'm not the one that's gonna, that's here to make that call, so. Really, she was just like, it's scary because our first audit's gonna be what tells us if our software's good or not. We think we're running fine, we're running better than they were, but, that's really what it comes down to for them.
So basically, these are our concluding thoughts. We think you have an extremely competitive product based off what we've looked at in the market. Think it really goes above and beyond and it has a lot of potential to go to market. Again, just reiterating the switching costs, not as big of an obstacle as we originally thought, just based off our conversation with providers. Customizability, user-friendly, and reporting capabilities appear to be some about the three biggest drivers in terms of what people are looking for, and then followed with cost being the fourth one, is really the driver for switching. And really, we think there's a real market opportunity to develop a product with both world-class training and implementation structure, just based off our responses from interviews. And ideally, we recommend that you proceed with a go-to-market strategy for this product.
Yay. So, we got an email from Haley Monday, and we submitted our scope of work on Friday, and Monday she said, oh, we have so many projects for summer. Would anybody consider going to fall? So I told her we would, because first of all, we've had like 16, and, I think it would be appropriate for us to
Be cooperative.
be cooperative. But also, the summer semester was gonna be part-time evening students only.
Yeah.
And with the fall semester of full-time day students. And I think because of the size of the scope of work that we put together, I mean, that's a lot of work.
Yes.
I just felt like the full semester of the fall and full-time students, it probably would be, I mean, do y'all agree with that?
Yeah.
No, we
I agree.
definitely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's
so
gonna be
anyway,
more
she
beneficial
emailed
for y'all.
yesterday and said that we're already approved, starting August, she's gonna let us know the dates, and, so it's gonna move forward with
There
that.
seemed to be too, we spoke with Adam Zinker yesterday.
Yeah,
and, I think he was pretty impressed by this project just because it was very different than a lot of the ones that they've seen come through.
oh, good,
And so I think he was kind of excited. It sounded like some of the other people that are running this were just kind of excited, interested, just thought it was a really neat and kind of a little bit abnormal for the typical projects they get.
that's
So,
good.
um,
You know, so I think, the reality is when you go and you look at the SWOT and where the weaknesses are, is purely a matter of investment and,
Yes.
and
Mhm.
doing what any startup would do, and it's just making a decision, trying to figure out how to get the resources to do it.
Right.
yeah, and-
Conversation with Diane, if we got some, if we went in that direction, she was willing, that might give us a boost to,
Yeah, and we,
Yeah.
I mean, there's another slide after this, but I mean, this is just kind of our, like, next
Okay,
steps into
good.
what we did. And one of the things we said was explore a possibility of partnership with UCP in terms of further product development, sandbox environment, just being able to get feedback on it and really demo it with them, just because they're such a large organization. We felt like that was a very easy way to break into the market if you can get UCP on board.
Absolutely, we really gonna need a partner to get the thing to market.
Yeah.
Without even seeing their recommendations yet, that's.
I mean, they
it's going
serve
to be
some of the most
expensive.
medically and behaviorally complex people in the state.
Right.
So anything and everything that has to do with documentation, tracking, medications and all that, they are faced with all of that.
yeah,
Just
and
by
all other
nature of what they do.
organizations too would be,
So
if you
Yeah,
can
I
meet
mean,
their needs, then everyone else
I
is
think that's right.
it's an umbrella.
I think that's right.
Actually, yeah, it kind of covers the whole
So-
market with what happens at
They're-
WOW and then what happens at
You know,
UCP.
We're very, I mean, like Diane, after we had a little meeting or whatever, and she's like, she was very impressed with you guys too. I mean, she was impressed with the presentation and the project. I think she and her team appreciated the opportunity to have a look and be a part of it. But, the reality is we are really not competitors. UCP and WOW and Sync are really not competitors, because even though they have a day program, the population that they support is very, very different than the population that
Yeah.
we support. And so I think, looking through that lens, it's not something that, hey, all of a sudden, we would be,
It just would be an added benefit to show the scope of the
Yeah.
product,
Mhm.
that it can satisfy the needs of a WOW and a UCP.
Well, if she's a partner with you, you've got a voice that's huge, that would
And
play
ready.
everywhere.
Lots
yeah,
of
she's
money.
got resources. And,
She can invest. I mean, it just seems like a lot of positive potential there
Mhm.
for a partnership of some sort.
Trying to be BFS with Diane.
well, it takes one to know one, so we're considered some of the more intense women in the. Yep.
Is there any, as far as the timing on this, you said Solonet is coming in?
Well,
Is there any
when we
particular
called-
urgencies that are?
When we called Solana, the lady just said, "Oh, you're from Georgia. That's one of our states that we're trying to get our foot in the door. If you want to recommend us to anyone, I'm like, okay."
We'll see.
So I think that there's, like we said, there's a lot of products out there. It's going to be, how can you set yourself apart from the person next door? And like I said, the just however friendly it is, being able to train the people up. it's customizable, you know, it can report to what your needs are. After that, it's price. And if you can get a competitive price, we think the product's better.
Well, and you have to help demonstrate
Its value, yeah.
its value through other factors like how much human resource time it takes, and, you know, there's things that can be said, you know, because just in my limited experience in working with some of these other providers, they nickel and dime lots of things that in the big scheme of things might not make a big difference, you know? Whereas if you put in a little investment in there, you could get a huge return, and I think that might be part of the education. It's like if you put this in, you know, you have to have a package because you know you're gonna have to deal with the smartphones and all the things to do, get all the benefit of being a web-based product.
Yeah.
You gotta show how that would be a benefit to them. And the reality is the more community-driven services are intended to be, and, you know, that's the point of a lot of the services is to be part of the community. They have to be mobile. The way, you know, so that other software company that you were talking about that doesn't have the web base and it's very, you know, they're gonna rent or lease you hardware and all, that's kind of old. That's really old school, so.
You have to determine where the break even is, how many clients need to be on this in order to pay for it, and then to.
I think you'd be surprised that it could just be a very small program could benefit from this. Because the load, I mean, I would base it on a $250,000 revenue benchmark. Because if you're less than $250,000 in revenue, maybe you probably might not need this or benefit from it. But anything over that, your compliance requirements skyrocket because of accreditation and all the other things that you have to have. And that's the point, at least in Georgia.
Yeah.
I would say. So what does it take to generate $250,000? Well, in residential, not a whole lot. But the reporting requirements for fewer people are still very high. I think that's where the UCP part comes in, is the daily tracking because of the care in the home and medications and all the things they have to do that would be a beneficial thing. Because you're gonna have to report it.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of getting it priced affordable. I mean, does that make sense to you, Ivana? Because anything over $250, you have, I mean, accreditation costs us $10,000 for a review. And that's, you know, and some providers say, well, I'll just go through certification because I don't want to pay the $10,000. No, I would do the $10,000 for the accreditation. But the reality is in Georgia, there's redundancy. You have accreditation, and then you're reviewed by the department. So you have multiple oversight. And so anybody really in Georgia is dealing with that. You need something that you can just say, here's the report that you like, and here's the report that you like. Otherwise, you spend your whole time reporting your compliance. Multiple ways to multiple people. That's what you do. So. Where did David go?
Probably had a phone call.
So,
This is a great step into the get it to market process. First thing had to be figured out is, can we get it to market?
well, I
Does it
think,
make sense to get it to market?
here's what it takes now. It's gonna take a commitment from leadership at Y&C to make it happen.
Because there are things that have to be, I mean, they've demonstrated some things that need to be done to it before we take it to market. And
I mean, do y'all have an opinion about that?
I mean, I don't know what this quote was. Basically, it's like if you have a, you know, what is something about if you have a software that, you know, you take to market and it's perfect, it's too late.
Right.
And so it's like one of those
That's
things like,
why I was wondering about the urgency of it.
there's gonna be the hurdles. And but it's gonna be, okay, you know, do you spend all your time developing an implementation process?
Or do you just do
Or
it?
do you say, hey, we've got a plan, it's 80% and we're gonna work hard at it?
I think I could gather up UCP, I think I could gather 5 friendlies.
Mhm.
As your first customers?
Ben, you said
Debbie
how many
Conway.
how many people would it take on your team to kind of finish up the majority or major?
Maybe 4.
Four.
3 or 4. Not all at the beginning, but, because there's some underlying architectural changes that have to be made to the software for it to be able to handle one provider versus multiple providers and stuff like that. But once the underlying stuff's done, then we can bring on some more developers to just kind of crank stuff out.
Also,
and
yeah.
build it out.
I think with a good plan and some investment, that would be.
Question is, how much investment?
Right.
How much time?
In other words, your point that you're making is take it to market now with some friendlies that are willing to work with you, enhance it as you go along. Saying, you know, we're gonna be doing this, 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 and this, which is some of what you guys got in the marketplace. Yeah, we're working on this.
Yep.
And if you've got people who are willing to take it as it is, like we're using it while we're enhancing it, that's a big deal. I mean, because you're bringing revenue in while you're trying to make the product better, as opposed to trying to do it shoestring up front before you put it out there.
Yeah.
And you get the feedback.
Or,
Yeah,
Yeah, they'll give you some
friendly
feedback.
Makes it
sandbox.
much
Try this
more
first,
desirable
right?
of a product, because
Yeah,
you've
this is
got
really
all of
cool.
this.
Hey Ben, how long do you think it would take it just to get it, just that part of it, so
Just
to handle
UCP,
multiple
right?
agencies?
With what we have, nothing
Yeah.
else.
That's what we have.
Those
I don't know.
reports that are on that car outcome thing have to be finished as part of that first run. Because that's, I mean, it just those have to be done. But we're very close to that end of fiscal year.
But UCP won't take it if it's not.
UCP can't use it as it is
Residential,
right
right,
now.
exactly.
They don't have, there's no
Saying.
benefit to UCP yet.
Right, so that wouldn't be even
So-
an option till.
Right. So we have to, here's things that are going through my mind. I go back to the team before you guys where we were doing strategic planning and there was the idea of a benefit corporation. You know, do we spin off another LLC that would, you know, so that we have a way to bring in partners? You know, there may be some corporate things that we need to do to kind of separate this away from the WOW contractual piece, because right now, technically, DBHD could come in here and say, we own this. So that's why I'm saying where we are now, I mean, we've already been accepted for the next team to come in and, you know, what's it gonna take and, you know, all of that. But I think the next thing for us is we've gotta make a decision if we're gonna be, what our commitment level to this is. And start getting ready for the, right, this corporate structure to be around that, because we can't just bring in players and, you know, and it's a capacity thing. So,
Well, it wasn't part of their scope. Their scope
Yeah,
focused
no,
on market.
I'm just
Our
saying-
scope needs to say, what protective measures do we need to be looking at to take care of this product while we're going to market with it?
Yeah.
And so somebody doesn't come in
so,
like DBH.
well, what I'm gonna do
just
is
cut
I'm
us
gonna
off
reach
the
back
path.
out to Corey, because he was on the team for the strategic planning. And see what his feedback is, because I think it was, when they did their project, one of the recommendations was consider basically some type of development or taking to market your proprietary system. But that was just because, they saw it and they thought it was great, and, you know, so consider doing something, because that's one of your strengths. So here we are, and you've confirmed that. So now, and we've got another team that's gonna come in and say, okay, let's help you get there, whether it's through incubation or whatever that might be. Can you tell the team about what you found out about the incubation? What's the name of that project at Tech where the full-time person?
ATTC.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's Tiger and ATPC.
okay, which one was, Tiger was the one that was for the student,
Yes, ma'am.
and then the other one,
Is, you looked into it a little more than I did, but it's
Yeah.
essentially a center that provides training, resources, you know, a network for startups.
yes.
So it's essentially,
What's the name?
it's an ATDC, it's, I don't know what it stands for.
Atlanta Technology something.
Yeah.
Let me get that one.
And it's, I mean, you have to be approved to go in, they expect you to work, you know, full-time within their center on it, or, there's two different levels. You can come in and take classes and just kind of network, but if you're actually incubated, you're gonna be in there, working on it full-time, and they basically provide you with resources
Is that different than this one?
Tech Accelerator.
I think so. I think this is Engage, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Engage.
Yes, there's something different.
Yeah, this looks like a.
This is a little
like
more high
venture-
powered. I mean, because
venture,
this is
corporate venture. Yeah,
Chick-fil-A,
it's corporate venture
Delta,
capital.
GP, Georgia Power,
AT.
Sponsorship.
DC.
DC.
Atlanta Technical Digital?
Development
It's,
Center.
I think
Development?
it's Atlanta Technology something center. Yeah, probably Atlanta Technology Development Center.
I mean, this is the kind of thing that Georgia Center for Opportunity, but they were so dysfunctional.
Yeah, they just
You
didn't
know.
act together.
Yeah, they just couldn't be.
They had an executive director who had his mind going in 12 different directions.
Right.
And I think, I'm not sure the exact numbers, but I think ATDC has a pretty strong record of
Yes.
success, but I think they have a pretty
Rigid.
rigid
Acceptance.
acceptance.
Yeah. I think they all said
criteria.
95% graduation rate, something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that, yeah.
But they require you to jump in full-time and
Yes.
live it.
Yeah.
Mhm. Which, I mean, is necessary to get something off the ground.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Well, that speaks to the spinning it out. If you spin it out into another organization, it's got to have a structure and it's got to have somebody running it.
I think
Yeah.
that we're gonna have to sit down as a team and say, okay, how much commitment? I mean, it's one thing, you know, it's good for us, and it's helped us, and it's, you know, the commitment to really do it, because we can't halfway do this. We
Right.
can't halfway go and say, oh, we'd like to share our database with you, and, I mean, we can't.
It's gonna be a
Or,
disaster.
or we, yeah, it'll be a disaster and we'll look stupid, okay? And I think we have a reputation, we have a strong reputation in the market, and we have respect. And there is no way that I would put us out there on a half-level commitment. So I think that's what we have to really decide, is our next, this would be the next generation of investment in this. I mean, we've been developing it so it's convenient for us and it's easy for us and it's cool, but I mean, this is a whole nother thing to talk
I
about.
think Ben needs to think about, what does it take to get us day one to put this thing in somebody else's business? I mean, what does it gotta look like? Bare bones is whatever we're gonna put out there to the market. what
The
does it gotta look
friendlies that
like?
I'm talking about that could take this thing, could take it, if we got it separated so that it could be multi-user. And we were kind of pushing with that with Emory, you know, and that, it didn't pop yet, but, because I don't think they could make a decision.
They're
Like-
bureaucratic.
It's
Yeah.
very bureaucratic and, you know, no fault of their own, but it just is what it is. But there are a few friendlies that could take it just like we have it, and it would be a phenomenal thing for them.
Right.
Well, you mentioned one piece that we can't do without, that's being worked on right now. What
Card
was that
forms.
piece?
Card forms.
Multiple users.
No, the CARF reporting, or the
Oh.
reporting.
The outcome reporting, the multiple thing, because they already got the one at a time. That, the multiple, the global view, which we're not far from having, is something that makes it a lot more attractive. And I think
Okay,
that's where
we're
we are. I
close-
mean,
we're
that,
close
so,
on that.
so here's what this team has done. They said, okay, confirmed, you have something here. It's not a question like it was in summer.
Right, yeah. Is
You know,
it- is it
consider doing
marketable?
something with it. Now, here they are and say, you've got something, now we have to make a decision what we're gonna do with it. And
If we have a product that can compete, we just gotta figure out how to.
How to get it ready and how
here's
to
the
get
thing.
it out there.
Here's the thing. Full disclosure, Rick, forgive me in advance, because he knows it's true. We're masters at robbing Peter to pay Paul. If we really wanted to take this to market, we could do it with who's sitting in this room right now. If we realigned ourselves. Wouldn't be easy, but we could do it.
I'm not
Because-
prepared to agree with that, but.
See, I knew he would.
It would be tight.
It would be very tight.
Well, you don't wanna put a hole in the bottom of the ship that's supporting all this while we're trying to do that.
Yeah, but
That's-
some of this would be just slice off. It'd be a slice. And I'm not saying me,
Yeah, I understand.
I mean-
I understand you're not saying you.
well.
It'd be a
I'd have
terrible
to-
idea if it was you.
Well,
But whoever it is gonna take away from something else
yes,
that still has to function in their absence.
Yep.
yes.
Or they're gonna take on a double load, and there's gonna be a lot of.
No, I think we'd have,
What do
no,
I
I
do
think
now?
the only way it would work is we'd have to slice it off.
And
Because
commit
it's gonna,
somebody
it
to it.
has to be committed. Because if it's not, it's
It'll
gonna.
get halfway done.
Yes, it's,
You're probably gonna end up hiring other people anyways.
we'd have to.
Yeah.
Which, you know,
But I think our problem is we have to get it to a point without killing the mothership. And she's right, the group that's here is the group's gonna have to get it to that point. And the next group that comes in the fall, we know what we know
well,
what we're
it
after
becomes
from,
the
them, but we gotta
difference,
be ready for
that
it.
becomes the difference of the team that's the customer and the team that's the support, you know. In other words,
Yeah,
we're used to working as one unit, and it, but I think we're gonna have to look at corporate structure. I don't see taking this any further without doing something corporately to separate it out of whack.
Mhm.
Just to protect it.
It, yeah,
just to
absolutely.
take care of,
That's
you
the
got
first step.
trademarking
Yeah.
issues.
Before you start to
Yeah.
get it out.
Well, I mean, we got a trademark attorney, we got, I mean, we, if nothing else, Mr. Miggs has taught me a lot about what
you
to
have
do and
living
what
the
not to
corporate
do.
world.
That's good.
And what to quit doing that you're doing still, I need to know, quit doing it. But, I think that's one thing. That would mean, to me, the immediate is really making a commitment and then doing the steps that are necessary so that by the time the next team comes in, they've got
We're
something
ready to go.
to work with.
Yeah.
And that we've lined up the resources.
They're not held back by our,
Yeah, I guess that's my
Situation.
point, is have it ready.
Because let's just.
have it ready for the
Ready
Let's
next
to
just
step.
say, Diane, Diane says, yeah, I'll put in X, Y, Z dollars. We gotta have a bank account to put that dollar in. We can't
Gotta have an
co-mingle.
organization to be an
No.
owner of.
Yeah, because I'm guessing that they're gonna want a return on that. You know, whether that's a loan, whether that's an investment, or whatever that would be. But that, you know, and we'd have to qualify, you know, what's the level of patience on their part, because we've been working on this for a very long time. And this isn't something all of a sudden we're all gonna be working for Diane, you know what I mean? But
Well, she's nonprofit.
she's nonprofit,
Well, you gotta deal with the whole thing.
yes.
Nonprofit owner, for-profit, and all that business. and
Well,
how to
right,
get-
you
how
know,
to
if
do
it's
that.
an LLC under Wyoming, it's still a nonprofit,
Mhm.
you know, and then the LLC can be sold,
Well, that means
whatever.
if she comes in and we're joint owners, then you gotta figure out how does it help both
Yeah,
organizations.
I don't know that she would be asking for ownership. I don't know that. They're not as entrepreneurial as we are. But, I mean, I don't know. So, in conclusion, since time is at the end, I think you put it back on our
Just threw it back to us.
Now
Do you have do you have an opinion based on what you know about us?
As far as what?
I say, like, given just the lack of capacity, spinning it out without, the people in here's full backing behind it is gonna, like, replacing y'all in that is gonna be tough to find someone with y'all's, like, level of expertise and knowing where it's at. So that being said, I think a partnership with someone else that's in, like, I just think it's gonna be tough to find someone with that much knowledge in this pretty narrow business. And so I think from that standpoint, some sort of partnership with someone else that could,
That has the other side of
that has the other
expertise.
side and could, split some of that workload and be able to, I guess, give their input from, like,
Yeah.
from
I see
multiple different
UCP's
views.
value as what they want out of it.
Yeah.
I don't see them as much of the, oh, let's go run and help other providers
Yes.
implement. I just don't see them as that.
Now, she wants it
For
for
her-
what,
yeah.
for
She wants
her
it.
organization.
That's right.
And she's willing to help because it will help her organization.
That's correct.
Which may be better for us anyway, because.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They're not trying to.
Right.
Take it on.
Yeah, I don't think that they would be the ones that want to, and I may be wrong, but I just don't see them being the player that says, oh, let's take this to
Let's take it
market.
together.
Yeah.
I think they're the partner that says, let's get it developed further for the market. And then,
Make them a user.
But, I mean, back to that
That
same
same
point
thing,
though,
there's
is
a
if
return
they're
on
gonna
it.
be way
It's gotta
up
have
here
a
with
return on
their
it, right,
needs,
yeah.
then it's gonna fit a lot of people
yeah, it's
underneath
gonna
that.
fit a lot more,
Yeah, it covers
because
a lot
we're
of the
very,
gaps.
very, our organization is structured very, very narrowly.
Yeah,
There's not many that are like us. There are a few. That's what I was saying. I know that there's some friendlies out there that we could roll it with just what we got,
and there are
But-
benefits to that too as well. I mean,
but
It
we're
would-
very narrow.
yeah. I mean, if you think, even if you started with a friendly, it would be probably a little less on your plate, smaller organization, and you could still get some benefit out
And
of it
will
with kind of
provide
that.
some revenue stream while you're
Yep.
still working.
Yeah, with
like
kind of
beta testing.
yeah, nice beta testing.
Yeah, that's what I see it as. Maybe.
I think that's a.
I think
you know,
that's-
doing a
Yeah,
test-
not
a test
necessarily a
market.
revenue as much as,
Pilot it out there with some test organizations. You talked to 40 different organizations.
that's remarkable to me if they had. time.
Yeah, and if
They-
y'all want to talk to other organizations, just call and say you're a student at Georgia Tech. Get ready to chat.
You know, that was a great opportunity to do that.
I'm surprised that
because-
you got through to that many.
We are too.
Yeah.
Took some persistence.
We would
So,
have never been
was
able
it,
to talk
do you
to
know
them
how
further.
many overall there are in Georgia?
She gave us the list and marked off, and there were probably, I'd say a quarter to a
60,
third
I
of
think
them. that was-
60 were left afterwards, yeah.
So about 100
70.
overall?
70, they got more than 50% of the people that talk to them on the list. And the people that are on the SPAD membership are the primary players in the state. Yeah, there's lots of
100 of
little
them?
moms and pops, we're not talking about them right now.
Right.
But anybody that's,
It's got a reasonable
right,
revenue.
they're a member of SPAD,
stream.
and we marked off those that were not candidates for them to call. So if there was, what'd you say, 70 on the list, and you got through to 40, that's remarkable to me. I mean, I never expected that many people.
So that first call has been made, and so there's a, you know.
And, I mean, we've got
one
an
door
Excel
open.
sheet we're gonna give you too
Okay.
that literally has the name of the
Word
organization.
travels
and-
fast, I tell you what, they're out. It's gonna just take one, all I know, they already got a
They
little
probably
buzz
already
going.
know.
But,
Well, also, on top of that, us making phone calls to the SPAD list is also making other organizations think, right?
right,
Well, I had this conversation last week. Well, now I'm kind of thinking maybe we should switch.
right.
And I would say
Also
too.
might have alerted the other software companies that, oh, well, someone else is out there developing, we better
We
start.
try to keep it pretty.
I don't think
They did it like where it's a school project.
Yeah, we said
we're doing
market
Yeah.
No
research.
one has any
Yeah.
idea what
Yeah.
That's
that's
not,
And
everybody's
it's a
not
school
writing a paper
project
for market
and-
research.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech. Good luck on your paper.
So as far as we're concerned, the only ones that really know about it are UCP.
Right.
That's good.
And
Yeah, the only person that we talked to that was like, at the end was like, wait, who are y'all working for again, or something like that, was the Therav guy.
of course,
He said at the very end, so, what are y'all doing again?
yeah.
Oh, we're just doing some
Because
research.
he knows we got it over here.
We're tech students.
That's it.
And our friendly interactions with Jason at the conference didn't really do anything but confirm probably that he's thinking, I wonder if WOW's doing something over there.
Awesome.
We would love to bestow upon each of you a grand gift of our appreciation. However, Georgia Tech won't let us do it. So, on behalf of WOW and Sync, we say thank you on behalf of Georgia Tech. So this little gift as a thank you is